Hello and welcome, everyone. If you're tuning in asynchronously, I'm Dr. Jared Jones. My specialty is ancient systems of meditation, in particular, the Buddhist tradition, and also a bit of the Dragon Gate Taoist tradition. My academic background includes Buddhist philosophy, the philosophy of science, and the cognitive scientific research of and into meditation. Yeah. So I have some really exciting things to share with you all today. Uh, Again, if you're here, happy to have you here. And if you are tuning in later, also happy to have you tuning in later. Hello, Cleric. Cleric, I expect that you have come up with a good name for the crew as my representative amongst the younger people. We must have a cute name for what we're doing. Otherwise, it's is it even real, bro? I don't know if it is or not. So I changed a couple settings. I changed a couple settings on my mic, but I don't know. I don't think so. So a couple of interesting announcements. So first of all, well, maybe I'll wait a bit. I'll wait a bit. So hang out. I'm not your guru yet. I'm just someone teaching you some stuff. So hang in there. We're going to wait a few minutes just to let people join in. Per the usual, this is the meditation class and the open Q&A about meditation specifically. And I decided tonight, because I was doing calls with some of you in the community today, and I was doing a ton of research for the upcoming video that I'm going to be doing, which is a much heavier hitting video in terms of critiques of Buddhism than the first one. I just didn't have time to go live and do a Q&A. So right after this class, I'm going to switch over and do a live Q&A until I pass out on live stream. So if you'd like to see me fall unconscious on live video, come tune in for that. That'll be entertaining. So we've got some people trickling in for the class. For those of you who just popped in, I'm waiting a few minutes for people to join before we do some practice. So if you have questions, usually the first 20 minutes or so, I like to do the first bit of Q&A. So please pop your questions into the chat if you have them about practices of mind that you're doing or just general meditation related questions, okay? So since those questions may or may not come in while I'm waiting for you to catch up with me in terms of the delay between what I say and the internet, let me begin with this. So I was talking with someone that joined the school course from Germany and is fairly new to meditation. This young gentleman's been meditating for about 2 months and has a master's degree in psychology. So it was an interesting conversation because I got to dust off some of my cognitive psychology knowledge to chat with him about meditation stuff. And let me see. Yeah, one of the things that I need is a different setup for monitoring the chat, which will come with the announcement I'm about to make. And so this gentleman was saying that, for example, and this is advice that's very common these days in terms of meditation. That's very poor advice. He said when he's sitting down to do meditation on the breath, for example, that one of the things he does, and if you see this later, I'm not criticizing you personally. And I do know the distinctions that we made in that conversation, and those are important, but this is still a good example. The the technique that he was employing was that he was, for example, putting his mind on his breath, and he was sitting for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And when his mind ran off, and then he tried to bring it back, he was sort of going, okay, I just need to sort of accept and be calm with my mind and just be forgiving and be kind to myself and this sort of thing, right? Which is very, 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 very common meditation advice these days and does not work. Does not work. Now, of course, the clarification he made was, well, what I mean is I'm just trying not to get frustrated because I'm sucking at this, right? And that's true. You want to do that. But here's the point. When the Buddha describes training your mind, I've given this analogy before, but bear with me for those who have heard it already. It's like a drunk. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Those affirmations are distraction. You're allowing your mind to go into distraction, and then the affirmation of, well, I should be positive to myself, blah blah blah, is just more distraction you've added on. It's the opposite side of the frustration being added on. But also, even worse than that, applying that technique never fixes the first problems that you have in the process of training and meditation. So the first problem you have in training and concentration is that your mind has extremely powerful force in pulling you off the object. This force in pulling you off the object, according to the Buddha, for example, is described as a drunk, wild bull elephant who has gone into the forest, eaten some fermented fruit off the forest floor, and is now barreling through the forest completely drunk. This is how the Buddha describes. I may be exaggerating slightly, but this is at least how some of the texts describe your mind in terms of where you start before you're trying to train your mind in concentration. And so how do you pull the mind in? You have to take a rope that's strong enough to hold this wild drunk elephant, wrap it around its neck somehow, pound a stake into the ground, and then take a sharp hook, which if you've ever seen elephant taming, it's horrific to watch. This is really, really terrible to watch, but they still do this to train elephants to this day. So you can find videos of it on the internet. It's not pretty. You take a hook that has a sharp end, right? A pole with a hook on it that has a sharp end, and you hook the elephant in the soft parts that hurt a lot. So that if it moves around and tries to thrash against you, it has to feel this intense pain of the hook that you've put into the soft part. So you take this drunk wild elephant, tie it to a tiny rope, stick it in the ground firmly, and then hook it with a sharp hook so that it hurts every time it moves. And this is the amount of force and violence, basically, that you need to stop your mind from moving off the object when you first get started. And I have never in my life, not once, heard, with respect to people that like yoga, nothing wrong with yoga, okay? Nothing wrong with the physical yogas, nothing wrong with training your mind and training your body in yoga. Really, honestly, nothing wrong if somebody's, playing music at their yoga studio or what have you, to help you do it as exercise, and that'll still have benefits. But I've never heard a yoga studio meditation or a guided meditation online or a guided meditation on the Calm app or anywhere else, or even meditation instructions in the general world today describe the level of intense force and borderline basically violence that is described right in the text that's required for you to rip your attention out of the normal BS that it's involved in and place it on the breath, for example. Yeah. Yeah, the violence here is not, again, the animal tamer is not violently upset, but understands that it must apply extreme force because the wild drunk elephant is extremely dangerous. Just like your distractible mind is extremely dangerous. If you just we know this even without being meditators, right? If you just let your mind go wherever it wants to go, you're going to get in trouble really quick, aren't you? Like if you just chase whatever impulses happen to pop into your head, you're gonna be in jail probably by the end of the week. So our mind is like this. It's completely out of control and yet also extremely powerful thing, right from the beginning. So the Buddha says you need a powerful, forceful, intense, or at least by the Middle Indian period and so on, they're arguing you need this extremely powerful and intense motivation and intention to put the mind on the object and hold it there in the beginning. And that's missing if you're sitting there going, okay, I should be kind to myself. Don't be too harsh. We're relaxing now. That is the exact opposite of the type of mental attitude you need to stop the mind from running away. The precise opposite. Not like kind of the opposite. I'm not being hyperbolic. That is the opposite, exact opposite mind you need. You need a mind that is basically ready to face off against something so dangerous that if you screw it up, you're going to die. Again, think about the analogy. A wild, drunk elephant is extremely dangerous and could kill you by accident if you're not paying attention, even, right? So the analogy is one of you need as much force as if your life is on the line to rip your mind out of ordinary activity and put it on the object. So I thought I would share that once again today for those who are a bit new. Maybe this sounds crazy to you because you think, well, meditation is supposed to be relaxing, and it is. It's relaxing after you have some capability in meditation. It's not relaxing in the beginning. And if you accept my opinion on this, then you'll make progress really quickly in the early stages of meditation, and it will become relaxing much more quickly. But you have to have the ability to place your mind where you want to, hold it there with great force, and then eventually, after you hold it with great force for a while, it becomes easier to hold it. And so the force naturally starts to dissipate, and you can just hold the mind where you want to. Like working out a muscle at the gym. You gain that strength of being able to hold the mind where you wanted to hold it. And so the effort becomes less, even though the force remains the same, right? Just like at the gym, it becomes easy to lift a heavy weight. So the force is the same, but the effort to maintain the force is less. So it feels easy. Just like lifting something really heavy feels easy after you've been working out at that weight level for quite a while, you know? Okay. So that's my little tidbit for the day, since I don't see a lot of questions coming in. Okay. So for those of you who are here now or wander in later or see the stream later, I'm going to put up a proper video about this, but we hit 1,000 subscribers, which is really unexpected. Truthfully, what do the kids say? Come on, chat. Listen, chat. Come on, chat. Is this even real, bro? Seriously, I've just been standing in my kitchen staring at my phone, going, "Why do people think I'm this interesting?" You know, like genuinely, I thought that what I was thinking was not actually that interesting, but apparently people think it's worth hearing. So I thought it would take me about 2 years to get to 1,000 subscribers, and it's taken 21 days. So thank you all of you for having some faith, some confidence in what I'm doing, and you know, it really means a lot. Really means a lot to me that you're here. So along those lines, in giving back to you, some of you have already financially supported what I'm providing to the community. So come on, chat, death and rebirth, yo. So, just full disclosure, to run my household, let's say, and to do this full time, and at the moment I'm putting in between 70 and 100 hours a week doing this with you guys. So to do that and nothing else means that to run my household, I still have to bring in X amount, basically, to pay all the bills and so forth. And in addition to that, I'm trying to upgrade the setup so that the stream is stable, the video quality is high, the audio quality is high, and that I can actually train you guys in all the stuff that I want to train you in if you're interested. So for example, I need to buy a lapel mic, and I need to get lighting in here so that for the after hours stuff, I don't look like I'm on the moon. And I need to, new laptop, new phone, etc. that can all be pushed into service for the work that I'm doing. And because of you, I've been able to take the first big step. So I got a streaming laptop that's not high end. I said this yesterday, but it's a $1,300 laptop that's designed for streaming and gaming. It's fit for multi-streaming, has an Ethernet port, It has a good graphics card, so I can do high-end video editing on it. And yeah, it will be able to. Yeah. Once I can get YouTube Studio up and running, it'll be probably another week, I think, before it catches up with what's actually happened with my account because it doesn't do that in real time. All that being said, because of you guys wanting to support the whole community by financially supporting the work that I'm putting in, I've been able to buy this new first big part of the new setup. So again, thank you, and I'm putting, besides the cost of a hamburger for my wife and I, I've put every penny that you guys gave me and more into upgrading the setup so that I can do this even better for you guys. So I wanted to make that little announcement and at the same time say thank you, because without what you've contributed, I couldn't have done that, and it means a lot. It means a lot that we've created this reciprocal circle. That being said, for this to be able to make everything work, yeah, there's not that many Buddhist focused channels, and I want to do that. I want to make this a real thing. And furthermore, for Buddhist channels that are out there, quite often they're posting content, in my humble view, that is, it's sort of like aimed at a more idealized form of Buddhist practice that isn't in the midst of real life. You know, it's not a type of Buddhism that is easy to practice in real life. And furthermore, it's often based solely on classical sources, and the troubles that we have in the modern era aren't addressed as robustly as one might like in the classical sources. For example, the whole argument that I put up on infinities is basically something that isn't argued out in quite the way that I've argued it out in the Buddhist sources. What I've done is I've looked at, well, what are the arguments that the best theologians and philosophers on the planet are making that contradicts the Buddhist view? And then I've poked holes in them until I discovered what the problems are with those views. And I've presented those as solutions to the problem. Because I think if what the Buddha and these great yogis say is true, then logically this should be able to work out. And if it's not true, then logically it should fail, right? Because if reality does work as causes and effects, then there should be some logical way to describe how that works. And if it's magic, if we have to skip logical steps and can't explain it, then something has gone wrong, right? Mm, yeah. Okay. So, long story short, I'll get into this when we get into the Q&A after this sit and see session. But from the community, if the community is willing and able, over the next week or so, I need to raise about £1,000. I know that's a lot of money, but that would then support me fully upgrading the rest of this system and covering the bills for June for my household. So if we can get there in the next week or so, then everything else works for this for a whole nother month, which is pretty phenomenal. So I can carry on working, 70 to 100-hour weeks for you guys, making content with all of the tools that are required to do so and pay the bills. So we're going to do a marathon Q&A session after class tonight, and for those who are willing and able and want to chip in something towards the big goal of sort of bringing this up to a more professional standard, that's in a part of what we're doing tonight, trying to make that final leap so that I can just focus on making all the stuff and doing all the stuff instead of having to worry about how I'm going to keep the lights on. Okay. So in the chat, let's see. So yeah, I agree. There's quite a bit of Buddhist content out there that I would say is for people who are already faithful Buddhists. and there's stuff out there that could be pushed into service to sort of explain Buddhism, let's say, or justify it in a wider sense, in a philosophical sense, etc. Um, but in general, um that content isn't designed to sort of, in my humble view, address. And I won't mention which organization, but I brought this up with one of the largest Buddhist organizations on the planet, and I said, listen, Buddhism is actually shrinking. There's less Buddhists now than there were 10 years ago, and most Buddhists are older and they're going to die within 20 years. And the monasteries are shrinking and closing. And the reason for this is the internet is filled with stuff contradicting Buddhism, you know, just attacking Buddhism, including really good arguments, actually, by theologians, philosophers, academics. And if Buddhist organizations don't start addressing these things that are troubling people, no one's going to join. And they'll join, and a couple years later, they'll stumble upon Dr. Tennant giving his thesis on why Buddhism sucks, and not knowing enough to know why that's wrong, many people will leave. The other thing is, Buddhism has become increasingly secular and is uncomfortable in the modern world just expressing what Buddhism actually is and what it actually thinks. And because of this, people are poking holes in the secular versions of Buddhism, as with the video I did on God Logic's thing, right? The young man who was raised Buddhist doesn't know any of the answers to the big questions of life in a Buddhist context. And because of this, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he deconverted from Buddhism. You know? Oh yeah, there's a ton. I have 12 pages of things I need to respond to. 12 pages of videos, articles, you name it. There's a whole industry. And there's quite a few Christian organizations, for example, that publish books and podcasts and so forth on how to deconvert Buddhists. like there's a whole industry for this. And nobody's responding to this, and Buddhism will shrink and die and become nothing, and there won't be enough resources to support it, and it'll basically go out of existence probably within my lifetime, unless some people step up and develop real arguments and talk about these things in a way that's cohesive and makes sense. So, of course, I made all those arguments, and they said that those were important things to say, but I wasn't put in a position in the organization to actually implement any of that and make a difference to millions of Buddhists around the world. So now I'm here doing it myself. Right. So, um, yeah, yeah. I think secular Buddhism is good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's like, for karmic reasons, it's really fantastic. And in terms of practice, it's okay. I've never met a secular Buddhist who has really extraordinary meditative capability, and I think that's because to develop really profound meditation capabilities, you also need a certain worldview. It's just never going to be worth it to you to do like a month of retreat or 2 months of retreat, for example, if you don't think that there's something beyond this lifetime. Why would you? You know, like, that's a huge pain in the ass, and you may lose a job, you may lose a relationship with a romantic partner. Like, you're going to have to give stuff up to gain the deepest levels of capability. And so you need a worldview in which that makes sense. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. This is why right view is part of the Eightfold Path. If you don't have the right worldview, it's going to be very difficult to justify to yourself why you need to do all of this stuff that will, at least for periods of time, interfere with your ordinary worldly interests in this lifetime. Right? And like, this is, again, none of this is actually that hard to understand. And so, yes, there's good things about secular Buddhism, but it's actually, if you start secular Buddhist and then somebody comes to you and makes a really good theological argument that you don't know how to fix, that's going to stick in the back of your head somewhere, and that worldview may itch its way to the surface until you can't deny it anymore and you have to convert and you just give up the secular Buddhist stuff, because who cares about their mind being slightly more calm? Yeah. Yeah, but we're supposed to have 2,500 more years of the teaching existing. Okay, sorry, this is not the live Q&A. So I've rambled long enough. We've got 16 people here who want to do some practice, 15 people. So let's actually do some practice. Hopefully, um, hopefully this won't be too hardcore for you guys today, but I was thinking we'll probably do like a full-on 30 minutes, and we will start more or less where we finished up last night, if that makes sense. Excuse me, if that makes sense. So we're going to build upon the level of capability that we got to last night in terms of opening the sense gates. And I'd love to spend a little bit of time meditating on consciousness today if we can. So we're going to get as far as we can opening the gates and then resting on consciousness. Yes, but we're supposed to have 2,500 years still where we have the teachings in full enough form that they function. In other words, that we can still gain realizations by practicing them. So yeah, it's going to disappear, but we're supposed to be able to use them still. So we have a little time, but it's going to shrink a lot in our lifetime if someone doesn't step up and address the things that I just mentioned. Okay. All right, let's get going. So adopt whatever position you'd like. You can be in a standing position, especially you, cleric. I know you love standing. And you can be in a seated position. You can be laying down, but you might fall asleep. So laying down is maybe not best. But if you can do your practice laying down, it's fine to do it laying down. Okay, here we go. So let's start with intensive meditation on the breath. So place your mind on whichever nostril has the most intense sensations of breathing. For those of you who already know the way that I do this, do it the way that I've described in the past. For those of you who are new, just try to follow your breath as best you can while counting the breaths from 1 to 7, 7 to 0. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, begin. Okay, straight from your breath, go to your left foot, left ankle, left calf, knee, thigh, hip, right foot, ankle, calf, knee, thigh, hip, front of your pelvis, back of your pelvis, tailbone, anus, perineum, sexual organ, and come to rest on the tip of the organ. And come back to the perineum, slide upwards into the waist, the front of the waist. The back of the waist. Front of the diaphragm belt. Back of the diaphragm belt. Front of the chest. Back of the chest. Not including your shoulder blades if you can. Left shoulder. Very quickly scan the various parts of the shoulder. Top, front, side, back, armpit. And into the bicep. Elbow. Forearm. Wrist. Palm and back of your hand. Thumb, pointer, middle, ring, pinky. Now move to your right shoulder. Very quickly scan the parts, top, front, side, back, armpit. And into the bicep. Elbow. Forearm. Wrist. Palm and back of hand. thumb, pointer, middle, ring, pinky, bring your awareness to the bottom third of your neck, middle third of your neck, the upper third of your neck, bring your awareness into the joint between the skull and the neck, the back of your scalp, left side, right side, and for the sake of time, just become aware of your whole face. So, forehead, eyebrows, eyes, nose, and so forth. Bring the awareness to the top of the head, the top of the scalp, and just become aware of the most sensitive point on the top of the scalp. Relax your awareness of that point now, and just sort of settle into the awareness of the whole body. Now, to enhance the awareness of the whole body, bring your awareness to everything that's facing the front. Hold that, everything facing the back. Hold that, everything facing to the left. Hold that, everything facing to the right. Hold that, everything facing up. Hold that, everything facing down. Hold those 6 points. If 6 is too many, then hold 4 points, front, back, left, right. Sorry, not points, but directions. Front, back, left, right, or front, back, left, right, up, down. Either 4 or 6 directions. Refresh the directions, front, back, left, right, up, down. Now gently pull your awareness back a bit. We're going to go straight from tactile awareness to consciousness. So just pull your awareness back from tactile awareness a bit. Do not become aware of sound or vision or smell or taste. Your mind has unique objects that can only be seen or experienced by the mind itself. So those include all kinds of mental images, memories, motivations, intentions. So you're just going to, now that your mind is a bit more calm, you're just going to observe those internal images, thoughts, words, whatever happens to pop up in front of the screen of the mind, let's say. And as with tactile sensation, although much more difficult than tactile sensation, you're going to let the mind rest like a mirror. So it doesn't matter what appears there. Don't add to it. Don't try to make it go away. Do absolutely nothing. That's the struggle, to not do. And sometimes in Zen they say doing, not doing. So you're trying to pull your awareness back and let it rest in its natural condition, which is to simply generate stuff and be aware of stuff, to put it in layman's terms. I like to say choiceless, intentionless, mirror-like awareness. So pull your mind back, have a seat in the theater of the mind, and simply observe whatever mental content appears without letting your mind get distracted outwardly by the five senses. Okay? Do your very best. We'll do a few minutes of this without any interruption. questions? I want to remind the chat at this time that this particular stream is aimed at answering questions specifically about your personal meditation practice, the things that are coming up in your practice, and the problems and issues you're having in a practical sense or a theoretical sense with your actual practice. Starting in a few minutes, actually, I'm going to jump over and do a live Q&A that's an open forum. Yeah, mate. Yeah. So if you're having trouble with pain in the body, uh, what can help with this is to do more body scanning. That helps reduce pain in the body and make your mind less reactive to the pain. As I've said before, I actually have chronic pain. So I have a bad knee, I have a bad hip, I have a bad neck, I have a bad shoulder. My body's a mess. Even in the midst of doing pretty serious internal martial arts training and all sorts of other stuff to try to make it all better, it's not. So uh, one of the things that's quite good, for example, to make your mind less reactive to pain is to do more standing practice. Because standing practice for most people, unless you've spent years on your feet, is not comfortable. And if you do it the way that I described, then some other things are going to happen, and your legs and your feet and so forth will be very uncomfortable. And as long as you're standing properly and not standing flat footed or not doing weird things with your hips or your knees while you're standing, which again I describe in the materials for standing practice, then yes, you might get a little sore because it's not, even though you're just standing there, it's actually kind of a workout. But over time, you'll have less pain in the legs and so forth. Yeah. And then because you're learning to generate concentration in the midst of relatively a relatively high amount of pain in doing standing practice, um, the relatively speaking much less amount of pain that you have while sitting becomes way easier to bear. So this is not often talked about, but if you want your mind to be able to pull away from the body to do meditation on consciousness, for example, you need to get good at your mind being non-reactive to pain. And there are ways to train that are not sadomasochistic, like they actually have a real purpose. And one way to train that is standing practice. Yeah. But also don't be afraid to just do normal stuff that helps with bodily pain. So if you need to go see a physio or you need to do some exercise that helps strengthen the knee or whatever to make the knee work right, then do that. That'll help you. And then also pay attention if you're doing a lot of sitting, pay attention to how your legs and stuff are in your sitting practice. Because if, as I said last night, since your knee is designed to go like this, it's a hinge. It's not like your neck is designed to swivel and bend like this, right? It can go in all sorts of directions, but your knee, like your elbow, is just a hinge that moves in one direction. And so if you're sitting like this and you're trying to force the knee to bend this way or this way, you're going to hurt your knee. And if you spend a lot of time doing that, your knees are going to hurt a lot and it'll become a problem. And actually, quite a few people that do a lot of Buddhist meditation in particular, they end up with bad knees and bad hips. So it's important that you learn how to sit properly, especially if you want to be able to sit for 3 or 4 hours at a time in one session. It's important to learn how to sit. Okay, since no questions came through, I'm going to hop off this stream and I'm going to immediately, after a quick restroom break, hop over to the live Q&A. So please do make your way through the channel and find the live Q&A. I'll be right over there to chat with you all in a few minutes, okay? All right. And for those of you who don't make it to the other live Q&A, hope to see you soon. Don't die before I do, okay?